Sri Lanka managed to guard their, their meager total of 203 with fine-tuned bowling as they harshly restricted South Africa to 125 all out, winning by comfortable 78 runs. I'm sitting here heartbroken, obviously, after the second ODI. South Africa really came back strongly to really put on in a good performance. And I really thought that was them turning around the corner and going towards some amazing performances into the T20 series. I really thought that by myself and Aditya speaking on the Daily Show yesterday about how much we've improved against spin, it just takes another debutant to come in and completely show us how much we lack playing spin. So I think what helps South Africa from my point of view right now is the fact that we are good at analyzing and figuring out game plans for people that we've seen. But when it comes to actually facing the actual discipline, and when someone new comes in that has something a little bit extra, I don't think our experience is in depth enough to be able to handle that. Now, that's just my opinion, not the opinions of the Cricket Fanatics magazine or of the panelists. And we're going to get the panelists on the show to come talk to us about this too. We're going to be talking about the South African series as a whole. We've got a poll going as well, where you guys can vote what you thought of Keshav Maharaj's captaincy during these two games. We also have some insight from the press conference that Aditya will be sharing with us. We had both Boucher and Keshav Maharaj speaking, but I'm not sure which one's embargoed, so he's going to have to let me know which one so that we can have a chat about only the things that are not embargoed, of course, because we don't want to break those rules. We're also going to give you guys an opportunity in the live chat to be able to give in super chats to get your voice and your opinion heard, because there is no channel in the country that gives you options to actually give your opinions to be heard, other than Paul's podcast that he has on his channel. There's not many podcasts out there that give the fans an opportunity to have their opinions heard and listened to. So you guys get involved with the super chat. Go down to the super chat, click that $sign, and get your opinions read out on the screen. It's the only way you're going to get your opinions read out on the screen today, because this is a review show. We get heavily into the conversation and the analysis, so sometimes we miss your live chats, guys. So please get involved with the super chat by clicking the $sign. Let's get straight into today's discussion. I'm going to bring on the panelists. I'm not sure who else is going to come on, but we have Impo and Aditya waiting for us on the other end. So let's get straight into it. Hey guys, welcome to Cricket Fanatics magazine. This is your daily show / review show. I'm your host, Khalid. It's my co-host Aditya. This is Umpo at the bottom of the screen. And we are here to bring you all the information that you need to know, the analysis, the chat, the anger, the happiness, everything that we've experienced throughout this ODI series, we're going to bring to you today and get an insight into what happened in this particular match. Now, I'm going to start us off quickly. It's weird. I'm like not upset. I'm upset, but almost I wouldn't say expected it, but it's almost like I'm immune to it because we're in the situation as South African fans where we go on roller coaster rides consistently. And I mean, I predicted a 3-0 victory for South Africa, thinking that because it's gonna mean so much to them that they need to win. Some people predicted 2-1. Maybe in the other way, South Africa, not to Sri Lanka, but there were people that also voted 2-1 for Sri Lanka. Some people as well, we thought that the rain was going to play a much bigger role. I thought that the rain was going to play a much bigger role than it did. It only really affected the second ODI. But let's talk about today's match. I mean, what happened with our batting? Completely capitulated. I mean, from the start till the end, no one really impressed me from the approach to the spinners. But not only that, I was shocked that we we fell to their seamer, because I really thought that we're going to try and take him on and maybe make that as an approach. But I sent out a tweet when Sri Lanka were finished batting, and I said it's going to be very interesting to see our approach against the spinners in this particular game on this particular pitch, because we saw how Sri Lanka struggled. And merely by us performing excellently with the ball, I think Keshav managed the bowlers so well during the series. And I think that he managed the bowlers throughout this particular series. He managed them quite well. So it was a bit of a shock to me that we didn't perform the way I thought we were going to perform. I really hoped that we would perform a lot better with the bat. I thought that we learned from the second ODI, because the way Aiden looked in the first ODI, I thought really that will carry over. I thought that maybe yes, to score 3 consecutive half centuries is very difficult. I mean, as we know, the Sri Lankan guy did get close, but he batted excellently throughout the show. I mean, throughout the series. I'm saying throughout the show, but throughout the series. And yeah, completely. There's going to be a lot of questions over a lot of places in this particular team. And you can see I'm struggling to put out the words here, because I don't want to get too negative and too critical about certain things. But we need Heinrich Klaassen to be able to step up in the situations. He didn't come to the party. We needed Rassie van der Dussen to come to the party. He never really did during the series. But he at least deserves one series where he can go a little bit missing, because every single series before that he's come to the party. So I'm not going to be too critical on Rassie. Janaman Malan, you can see there are still, like we spoke about it, there are still little blips in his game when it comes to playing against spin. You do see that still, the struggle, because that puts pressure on him. And then even if he plays against the other bowlers, straight medium pacers or speedsters, you can see the struggle. But I think let's start with the negatives first, get that out of the way, and then we can go into the positives. Aditya, let's start with you, because I think you'll give some insight from the press conference. Which part, because we know we got Boucher and Keshav, but which part was embargoed and which part are you allowed to speak about?
Yeah, we can't talk about Keshav's press conference. That's embargoed till 7 a.m. South African time tomorrow.
Okay, cool. That's fine. Then give me the Boucher tea. Oh, give me the Boucher tea. That's what I would need.
According to Boucher, the game today was lost right at the beginning when South Africa started to bat and lost those early wickets. So that, he said, was frustrating because everyone at the top four had some sort of a knock in this series. Everyone's contributed in this series, and so for them to go out cheaply and early was detrimental to the run chase. But beyond that, he said he was still happy with the state of the side, and there were plenty of positives to take from the series in general. He's got a short press conference too, so
I'm very surprised. Did anybody ask Isha questions?
Nobody did. The people who, look, I think I was thinking about it, and I was like, should I not? So I went with the safe one, because I'm a respectful person. No, but the question I wanted to ask was, what do you take away from this series? What were your expectations? But Nathan asked that. Well, Nathan didn't ask that question. The question was asked before me. It wasn't asked before me, but he answered it with, we're taking positives out of this. And he kind of explained that the top order did score some runs, so that's a good thing. The spinners came to the party, so that's another good thing. He rates these all-rounders, which is something that was quite interesting when I asked him about the balance of the side. I asked him if he was a batsman light over the past 2 games. And he kind of felt that he needed 3 seamers to match the 3 spinners. And so that was the risk they were taking, and they thought that they batted until 9. So then the question is, in the assessment of those batsmen, Andile, Keshav, and George Linder, did they miss it? Because I think they did. I think the whole world thinks they did. The whole world doesn't think Keshav's a number 6 or a number 7. At best he's a number 8, and that's what he showed today. But here's the funny part.
No ways. That's shocking, actually.
That's because he said that no, because I was like, he was like, no, we kind of felt that we batted until 9. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, no, surely not. And that's my one thing about, because here's the thing. In Pakistan, they rolled out George Linder at 5 in that T20. And we were like, you're playing 7 bowlers. And my question was, my issue here with this is that are they making their assessment wrong? Because on the one hand, a lot of people in South Africa kind of always, when they saw that team, they were like, you actually need an extra batsman. You actually don't. You can get away with 5 bowlers, and doing what he does.
Particularly in place of Vian Mulder and Andile Pechlikwayo, one of the two. Most likely Andile falling away, because if he's not going to bowl. So for me personally, Andile's position in the team, his batting's not good enough for him to be in the team to bat alone. His position in the team, he has to bowl. If he doesn't bowl, then if you're not going to bowl him, then he shouldn't be in the team. That's my opinion on him. So why select him? You've got Calverain on the bench. That irritates me.
You opened the bowling with Vian Mulder the other day. So that was there's a lot of muddled thinking around the balance of the side. And he never he just said that he trusts his all-rounders. He loves the depth that they have at the all-rounder spot, which I don't see. The only depth that I would say is they've misjudged the fact that Dwayne Pretorius is a better batsman than all the all-rounders he has on tour. This fascination that George Linder, that Vian Mulder are better batsmen than Dwayne Pretorius is probably one of the reasons why our test team also hasn't done quite well. Because in as much as I like giving youth an opportunity, in that England test series when Boucher started off, Dwayne Pretorius was so key to that side winning that first test match and also being competitive throughout that test series, but he's never been seen since in the test arena. And it's largely because he's the best batting all-rounder, or he's the best batter of the all-rounders that we have. We don't have we do have, I don't even want to call him a batting all-rounder. Actually, he's not. Aiden is not an all-rounder. He's a batsman who can bowl part-time. And we don't have a batting all-round. And so for me, that was my worry throughout the series was you're going to get found out. And today we got found out chasing 203. When I think Kesh made all the right decisions in that first innings. I remember I was on commentary on one WSR and I kind of 5 overs in, I was like, I actually would think he would bowl 40 overs of spin. And he did, because that's what it was required. And I love the fact that he did that as a captain. However, from a batting perspective, we should have known when Kesh bowled 40 overs of spin that they were going to come with us. And we were counting on commentary the number of spinners that Sri Lanka had to see if they could actually fit 50 overs of spinning. Because my answer was, start with your spinners. And they did. And they found joy.
Ravi, what do you make all of this? Because for me, I think the ODI series was meant to just be, when I looked at this particular tour, the T20 series was the one that stood out for me, that this was the most important part for the preparation for the World Cup. And the guys that didn't get opportunities to perform in that didn't have opportunities that are part of the T20 setup, that they get opportunities in the ODIs. Because we can see that the ODI side is a little bit experimental in a way, but they also needed points. So we lost out on 10 points and to go just behind India, I think, in the rankings. So unfortunately that happened, and we're going to stay where we are. And Sri Lanka goes up. And that's a massive win for Sri Lanka from regards to a Super League point of view. But what is your take on this ODI series? What are some of the positives out of it? And as well, I want to hear the negatives too.
Well, firstly, congratulations to Sri Lanka. I think when we started before we even started the series, quite a few of us were chastising them and saying, these guys are going to go down like a ton of bricks, and all of their stalwarts like Dick Weller and so and so, the whole sort of veteran gang wasn't going to be there. So we thought, I thought at least it's going to be a bit of easy pickings, maybe give them one game and two greatly in our favor. But the youngsters for Sri Lanka really stepped up, and I think they should give themselves a great pat on the back for that. They really backed the youngsters. They were awesome on the field in the first one-day international. And this time around, they beat us with the ball. These guys are definitely, there's some superstars there to watch out for in the not too distant future, I believe. In saying that, coming back to South Africa, I would agree with him wholeheartedly that we were desperately a batsman short. One of the rare moments I got in the day to actually watch the game, I saw a chuckling Buren Hendricks sitting on the bench, wondering what the hell is going on, and I saw a mortified Kyle Verreynne watching the game in absolute shock and horror. And I have to say, looking at the squad, I would agree with him, Paul, in that we definitely were batsmen short. I understand they wanted to play as many spinners as possible. But to your point, Khalid, you've got a situation where both Mulder and Fekhlakwai only contributed 1 over. And the 1 over that Vian bowled I thought was quite sublime, and I would have loved to have seen more of that from him at least. And the way I see it, if you're going to be selected just to bowl 1 over and maybe just by some miracle score some runs, there's no point having you in the team. And as harsh as that is, potentially that spot could have gone to a specialist batsman. It could have really gone to it. I know that there was a great deal of investment in the home series when we entertained Pakistan not so long ago. There was a great deal of investment in Snema. There was talks of possibly Kaya Zondo coming back. That spot could have gone to one of those dudes. And I'm not saying that they would have scored 100 here. By no means am I saying that. But you certainly would have increased your probability and chance of at least getting runs on the board. This was absolutely a poor representation of South African cricket. I would have expected better. And in essence, the only degree of sympathy I'll give is that I firmly believe that selection defeated South Africa today, in as much as we can say, we can maybe criticize certain elements of the captaincy of Keshav's newly found captaincy, we should say. Or we can say the fact that the bowlers did let our hosts get away a little bit towards the tail end, if you think about it. I mean, I think at one point we had him at 165 or 166 for 8. And we should have wrapped up proceedings right there. But there again, we lost another 34, or they scored at least another 34, 35 runs. So I think there's lots of question marks. I don't think it's purely a poor batting display, but I think it's also how we close. I forgot what the movie was called. There was a saying where they coined ABC, always be closing, right? And I firmly believe that. That's how it goes with cricket. You have to close. You can't let the guys let the tail wag, because that will undoubtedly cost you the game.
The problem also is that we had Kyle on the bench, your batsman. You know what I mean? That's getting chucked in here and there, not getting regular game time, and expecting him to perform on a whim. It's not fair on a player to do that to them.
Guys,
ultimately,
can I defend Keshav and today especially, because
there's no need to defend Keshav, I think.
No, but the use of Andile and Vian, the only reason why this happened this way was because of the fact that when South Africa started bowling, and the only thing I will judge Mark Boucher on was the fact that they allowed Kagiso to play today when he had a niggle. We've got a World Cup coming. You've got Luto on the bench. You've got Buren on the bench. You've got Lazard on the bench. You could have given it to one of them. Or even Anuch Nokia if you needed a guy who can bowl at 150. That is one, because Kagiso looked off color. And firstly, I don't think any of the other fast bowlers, Andile and Vian included, would have done better. If you look at the economy rates of the fast bowlers, Kagiso's going at like 7, Andile's going at 8. Vian looks respectable because of that wicket and was bowling at the tail. But Maharaj, Kesh made the best call to bowl those 40 overs of spin.
100%.
Because if we didn't, we would have been chasing 250. The only problem was that they realized that in game, 5 overs in, so you can't change your team.
No, I don't.
You can't try and swap.
I don't think that was the case. Because they can't tell me, because they knew exactly what they were going to do. This was planned. I don't think they walked down to the middle and then watched Kagiso bowl and they said, okay, oops, let's start with a spinner. I think they knew that this wicket was going to be spinner friendly. I mean, we heard Keshav in his post-match press conference, not press conference, sorry, in his post-match interview, just to be clear, not talking. But I heard him speaking in his post-match interview, and he did speak about the wicket, and he said that this wicket, the way we bowled over there was decent. He thought that the bowlers put in a decent shift with the spinners, and they knew it's going to be for spinners. Then why? So I don't know if the selectors are thinking, I know the selectors are under a lot of pressure with regards to the targets. And when they select their teams, they're trying to still fill the targets because they haven't been meeting the requirements over the last year. So I don't know if certain players are getting picked because of that, and they're focusing on, like, for example, Andile Peklakwayo. I don't know if that's the reason why they picked him, because he hasn't, from form perspective, he doesn't get into the team. And if you're going to, and if he's not going to be contributing with the bat, you see, Andile is a type of guy. I saw him score that 69 recently. I think it was 69, right? Recently, I can't remember the exact total. He looked good there. He looked good in that particular innings. But he always has one of those lucky type of styles of batting, where I feel that sometimes it's a swing and a hope, where it's not really calculated. Although today there were some calculated shots that he played that I really thought, there's a batsman in here somewhere, but he needs confidence. So personally, I think he does need some time off to go play domestic cricket and get that his mojo back, and get that feeling back, and that confidence back that he's always had. I think that the pressure is coming on a lot, because I know he sees the scrutiny he's getting on social media. That can also affect the players tremendously, because it forces you to want to play shots and forces you to play a certain style. But my point is, they're not meeting the transformation requirements anyway. Even with Andile in the side, they're not meeting the requirements. They only had 5 players of color: Riza, Andile, KG, Shamsi, and Keshav. So they're not meeting the 6 in each match. But it helps, picking a team with 5, it levels it out a bit over the long period of time. So it begs the question, and it's going to put the question out there, whether those quota targets or those transformation targets need to be changed a little or amended.
So here's the thing. It's not about the targets being amended, right? He could have done this, right? He could have dropped Andile and played Luto in the space of Vian Mulder, and still brought in a Dwayne.
Yeah.
And you would have had the same situation that they're playing. So it's not a question of transformation. It's a question of, why does Boucher and his management see Andile as a better all-rounder than Dwayne Pretorius?
Yeah, so
Me,
I'm not saying they picked this team because of transformation. That's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to explain to the viewers over here that obviously certain pressures the selectors have certain pressures with regards to the targets, and yes, we all know that. But Boucher could have picked a team that was transformation. If it was transformation that they were worried about, that is transformation friendly, like you said. There was opportunities for them to be able to play Luto, Lazard Williams even, because you need players. There's players of color that are good on that bench, and then there is space for a guy like Kyle to have an extra batsman in the team. It really frustrates me that they force. I feel that they're almost forcing the issue of that all-rounder space, rather than picking all-rounders that can do the jobs that we need. They're forcing all-rounders into certain roles that I feel doesn't suit them necessarily. You know, like, do we have a batting all-rounder in the team? Dwayne Pretorius. He's a batting all-rounder. Vian Mulder, I believe he is a batting all-rounder, but at the moment in international cricket, it's his bowling that is really impressing more at the moment. I feel that he still needs to get used to the pace of international cricket when it comes to his batting, and the intensity when it comes to his batting. And he needs more opportunities to actually bat up the order to get that. You know, he needs to put a long time at the crease. I think Test cricket's going to help him a lot to be able to get into that swing of things.
No, he needs to bat in the
and
top
more
five
ODI
for the Lions.
and more. Yeah,
he needs to
but
bat in the top 5 for the Lions. If he doesn't do that, same thing with Andile, and this is my problem. This is my problem with this today, right? If he just went on domestic batting lineups, we'd be a little bit better from a batting perspective, because George Linder bats in the top 6 for the Cobras. He scored runs for the Cobras in the top 6. Yes, he hasn't had the greatest of batting patches in the Proteas, but if you batted him at 6, it's a semblance of a strong batting lineup to start with, because you're like, this guy has earned his stripes from a domestic game. That makes sense as a selection. Then you go in with a Vian who bats at 6 for the Lions, and times at 7 for the Lions in that power pack team where Dwayne bats ahead of him and Delon Potgieter bats ahead of him. If Vian came in at 7, maybe it could have worked if you had some senior batsman on the other end trying to help them through. And then you look at Andile. Andile at the Dolphins bats at 8, guys. How is he batting at 6 in a national side? And it's not Andile's fault. Today's loss was not Andile's fault. Today was the fact that somehow somebody in that little dressing room thought, and the day before, and the game before, thought that Andile is a number 6 batsman. When he's not. He's a number 8. And we need to get through it. And the reason why I say this is because he bats at 8 for the Dolphins. He bats behind Prenel and Subrayan, and sometimes even bats behind Kesh. So I don't understand how he's there. How you not even in? I'm okay with him being in the team. I'm just baffled by that 6, 7, 8 axis that he's telling us. No, he loves the depth there, but his best batsman's on the bench. And he's playing guys out of positions that they don't even play for when they're in their domestic franchises.
I want you guys just to come in at any point. You don't have to wait for me to cue you. Like, if you want to interrupt us. I like that, because it's going to get a proper conversation going here for the fans. Who wants to go next? Have your say, because there's a lot to talk about, of course.
I'll just have a quick go. Sorry, I know I told Aditya you can go next, but I'll tell you one thing. When Temba got injured, obviously we saw the ball hitting him on the thumb. And the minute I saw that, I said, there's no way this guy's going to be playing in the next match. He hit him in a very acute area. That said, I think an executive decision should have been made to actually bring another specialist batter to the country. And for some odd reason, it just occurred to me right there and then, a guy that we haven't really invested in per se, is a guy like Ryan Rickleton. I would have considered him because he was knocking on the door for some time. He's a specialist batter. There's no 6 bowler worries we have to have with him or anything like that. The guy, all he's just there to do is just do his business and be a batsman. He can bat 4, he can bat 3, he can bat 5, he can bat 6. In essence, coming back, and I hate to labor the point, but seeing a guy like Verena on the bench today, I just thought, we literally shot ourselves in the foot again, and it was a hand from the selectors once more. We saw a similar case when we played Pakistan at home. I think it was, I can't remember, it was a T20. I think we chose 4 specialist batters and like 8, randoms, and unfortunately, it didn't work in our favor, or as expected, it didn't work in our favor. And I felt something similar. Looking at the scorecard today, the minute I saw it was coming down to Heinrich and Andile, as much as I would love to, as I loved believing in the underdog and seeing some sort of comeback being forged there, I had zero faith in those 2 individuals bringing it home for us. And that for me, as bold as a statement it is, I think it's a sentiment that most of the fans, most fanatics of the game as a whole would tend to agree with. And we need to get away from it. We need to get capable individuals that can get us out of those get out of jail situations. I feel that we moved away from the get out of jail cricket that South Africa sort of had in the late 90s, early 2000s. We don't have those guys that can break us out of jail anymore. We don't have like a Sean Pollack or Lance Krusner that they can actually bail us out. I've got zero faith. Once we hit 5 and 6, and that for me, as insulting as it might seem, please don't misinterpret that. But we don't have those jailbreakers anymore. And that for me is a huge indicator of where our cricket team is at the moment.
Teacher, this is going to be, and we're probably going to, obviously all of us are going to probably cover a lot of it, but there is a massive gap currently with regards to domestic cricket now, where there's opportunities. With the big moves that have happened around the country, Jason Smith going to the Dolphins, for example, Tayan Halim playing the way he is at the Titans. We've got the likes of Sibs Makanya that has an opportunity. He's still young, has an opportunity here to show what he's capable of as well. We've got Kamani that, yes, he's towards closer to the 30s, but there's an opportunity here for him maybe to put up his hand and show what he's capable of, because there is a gap there for someone to really say, look, yeah, I'm going to be that all-rounder for the team. That number 8, that number 7, that's going to take us and win us games in crunch situations, in difficult situations. We're going to have to wait and see, because there are lots of all-rounders. There's Michael Pretorius that also has been showing his ability as well as a bowling all-rounder in the CPL. The problem is for South Africa, I think that we need a bowler that can actually bat, not just swing and hope. We need a guy that can actually play in this situation that Andile was in, for example, and George was in, to be able to be in a situation like that and take you home, and be able to play the shots into the gaps, run between the wickets, play a boundary of the bad ball, and have that sort of smarts, not just come in and swing and hope. And there are guys like that in the system that I feel need to come in and get an opportunity. And I think if those guys have a massive, massive domestic season ahead of them, because they still have age behind them. They're lucky enough that they still have 4, 5, 6, 7 years of their career still left in cricket. Dicha, what's your thoughts on that?
To be perfectly honest, I think all 3 categories of skills need serious work. The batters need to take responsibility and, make big hundreds. On Twitter, I said that, this is an opportunity for Klassen and Milan at that point to just hang in there and finish off the game. Players need to take the responsibility of seeing the game through, and that's up to the batsman. With the bowling, KG was off color today, but that selection has to be right for the conditions, and bowlers have to execute, which they certainly did today and in the previous game as well. But with the all-rounder conundrum, it's more a case of what the specialties are. Because sure, we're talking about players who can bat and bowl, but even within that, now it's become a lot more complex. Are these all-rounders capable of hitting 80 or 40 balls? Are they capable of bowling 7 or 8 overs? That's the question. I think the definition of all-rounder now is not someone who can bat a bit and bowl a bit. It has to be a lot more specialized. Again, if I look at the India example, Hardik Pandya is capable of hitting 80 or 40 balls. That's why he's in the team. If he couldn't do that, he wouldn't be in the team. Hardik Pandya can also bowl 8 overs at the minimum, and he can bowl well, like in the mid 140s. So I think that's the question that South Africa need to answer, because there is this fascination with all-rounders, and it's part of, I guess, the South African cricket fabric, because the country has produced some great all-rounders. But I don't know if they're serving the team's purpose well at the moment.
Yeah, you can't force it either. Yeah.
Chris Wokes is a great all rounder. You know, he can, and he's a multi format all rounder. So that's another example as well. But we don't know how many of them, apart from Dwayne Pretorius, can perhaps replicate their feats.
We need a where's our Jamie Tart from Ted Lasso? Paul.
Why do you want Jamie Tart?
A guy that
we
can
don't want
no,
Jamie
no,
Tart.
just listen quickly. It's a type of guy that can take the game by the scruff of the neck and say, "Look, I'm going to be the guy. I'm going to take us home." We need personalities in the team that can do things like that. Well, Cristiano Ronaldo. Wink, wink.
So today was the day for guys. So here's my thinking with what the guys were going through today. So the moment Aiden lost his wicket, fine, yes, he wasn't the guy. I'm okay with that. Yeah, you guys can have him in the team. I really don't care anymore. After that, Riza, having been one of the older players on the side, yes, he's still new. He's still trying to figure out his place in. But for me, Rassie needed to take us home. He needed to take us home today. He's one of the better players to spin. He needed to just knuckle down and do that. But for me, that's where the issue lies. It's a responsibility, and I don't know, because I look at Mark Boucher, and when Mark Boucher played for the Proteas, there was that time in Australia where we had to bat out the whole day, and Graham Smith was injured with the hand, and he was doing throwdowns with the bowlers to give them a sense of how the day was going to be, how the fast bowling was going to be, and he kind of instilled that responsibility into the fast bowlers to a point where they batted to a point where we got to a point where we nearly didn't need Graham Smith, but then he had to come out anyway because we got some good balls. Where is that Mark Boucher? Where is the character of the coach in this team to say that the funny thing about it, he's sitting with him in the dressing room. So when you're 9 for 2, surely you go to the next guy and be like, hey dude, take us to 50 overs. It doesn't matter what the score is. Try bat out the 50 overs. This is your chance. Like, don't take any risky shots. And you go to the guy coming after. So it's Heinrich, it's Rassie, it's okay. Well, at that point in time, it's Andile and Vian. You can't ask much, but there's a certain level of responsibility you need to bestow on your players in order for you to be able to fight out these moments. This team has a soft belly. It's had a soft belly ever since Mark Boucher started coaching the side. And for me, that's the one issue I have with this, is that there's no one who's going. It's small targets are tricky because they are small targets. The reason why they're tricky is because it's a banana, but one mistake and you're gone. And that's what Sri Lanka wanted. And we don't protect ourselves against the worst case scenario. We didn't need to go out chasing wide balls. We didn't need to go out. You just needed to get through the period. And for me, for guys like Aiden who've been in the side for 5 years, I actually give Yanaman Malan a break because he actually tried. But and Rizzo got a good ball. But for guys like Rassie, for guys like Aiden, for guys like Heinrich, who are senior players in the side, there's a lot that needs to happen. Because Aiden, we were talking about Aiden being the best player spin at the start of this tour. Today, he looked like he didn't know what was going on to a guy who bowls the same type of ball that Keshav bowls. So if you're not watching Keshav in the nets, what are you doing? So for me, those are the things that I'm worried about the side, is that we're at least if you're losing games, but you're fighting like Mark Boucher. Now you're like, what is this? Like, I don't see, and to a certain extent with the all-rounders a ditcher, I'm okay with playing 5 bowlers and saying, because our batting sucks so badly, we're going to play 6 bowlers, 6 batsmen, and 5 bowlers, and that's it. We don't need a 6 bowling option. We don't have that luxury of having someone who's going to score 80 or 40, but I've got 6 guys who can score me 250 plus. And on a very good day, we could try get to 300. I was okay with that strategy. And to a certain extent, even, and maybe guys hear me out, is maybe Aiden Markham should actually bat at 6. If he's going to be a part-time and he averages like 20, I don't know what he averages, I think 29, maybe he should bat at 6. Maybe that's the plug that we need to say, yeah, I don't care, Aiden's an opener at like 5, yeah, but maybe you should bat at 6, because somehow maybe that 6th bowling option of part-time spin could help. But if you want him in the side, that's where he should go, because the rest of the guys in and around that area of 6, 7, and 8 can't bat. They're struggling.
The truth is, I don't know how many of the top 4, top 5, assuming they come in early, are really prepared to bat 50 overs. I don't know, because you're always talking about strike rate and aggression and being smart and all of these things. But none of it matters if you lose the game. Ultimately, it's the W's and the L's that go against your name that really matter. So, whether you're striking at 150 or whether you're striking at 75, it doesn't matter if you win the game. That's got to be the ultimate priority. And somewhere I feel like with Aiden's shot today, he went for that defensive shot, pushing at the ball. We've seen him do better, and I felt like he let himself down there a little bit. That was unfortunate. And I'd say the same with Rassi. There was a great catch at short mid wicket, and
spectacular.
It was a great catch. But that's my point. I don't know how many players are really sort of keen on finishing the game. If they say that if I get set, I'm going to see the team through. Because you look at other great like ODI teams. I'd say India is perhaps in that similar bracket where the message to everyone at the top 4 is that if you're set, you get to 50, try to finish the game. Rohit Sharma says in virtually every single press conference before an ODI series that my goal is to bat 40 overs. He says that every single time before an ODI series, and that to me is a great template, because most of the time that Rohit Sharma scores 100, India win.
And that's true. And that's what Amla used to do for the side. Amla's job was to bat out the 50 overs. It didn't care about how he started. His job was to last the 50, and he got his hundreds like that. And that's why he's one of the fastest guys to, I think it's 2,000, 300, 3,000, whatever those stats are. And that's my disappointment about this. And the disappointment about this squad especially is that outside of Rassi and Yanaman, everyone else is fighting for their spot. Is fighting to be recognized. Riza was telling us that he doesn't know when he's going to play again, so he's taking his opportunities as they come. But no one's taking their opportunities, and to a certain extent, Aiden's a backup to me. Yanaman's taken the job. I don't care if Aiden bowls, but that's Yanaman's spot, because Yanaman's put up his hand. I think he scored the most runs. He's the one who actually wants to sit for 40 overs. Yes, today he struggled, but we always knew that Yanaman struggles against spin, and he's gotten better in the series. He's played in that second T20, the second ODI, played well. So my issue was that nobody wanted to say, I want a place in the 2023 World Cup. Everyone was sitting there going, actually, we've got another series against the Netherlands. We'll probably win there. We've got Bangladesh at home, so we're probably going to beat them there. And that's where I'm going to get my runs, rather than looking to get runs here. And the thing is, Aditya, the thing that hurts me was India came with a second string side to Sri Lanka, and they whipped them. They did not give them any chance. And you're sitting there going, is that how far we've fallen as an ODI side?
Yeah. If we're gonna pick Aiden, because we know Quinton de Kock comes straight back into that top order, so they're causing their own headaches for themselves ultimately, Boucher and the selection panel. We know that Quinton de Kock is going to bat in that opening position, and we know that I think Yanaman should be that second person to open up with him. And then we've got Temba coming back. He's going to come into slot into 3. And then we've got Rassi that will probably be 4. 5 will probably be David Miller. 6 will have to be then Aiden Markram, if you're taking it on runs, not Heinrich Klaassen. Because I think Aiden has done a better job at finding boundaries and looking as amazing as he has. I think he has the ability to be able to switch it on like that. He's more comfortable against spin now than he's ever been, I feel.
There you go, with ability.
So
ability. There's a guy who averages 80 in ODI cricket, and you're telling me that he doesn't have the ability to switch it on, whereas we're looking at someone's potential. Nah, man.
I'm not
I'm
talking about
sorry.
potential for Aiden. I'm saying Aiden has the ability. He has the ability means that he has it within him to be able to switch it on and switch it
Has
off.
he done
We
it?
just haven't seen him bat 6 in ODI cricket.
He's
So how
batted
do we
at
know?
4, and he averages.
But 4 and 6 is
averages
completely
17.
different.
True.
Like it's a
True,
completely
but-
different role. Also, it's a completely different mindset. You don't walk out to the crease with the same mentality. When you come at 4 and you come at 6, when you come at 1 and you come at 3, it's different. It's not T20 cricket where it's all match situation for me. That for me, then in T20 cricket, it's a little bit more match situation than position that you bat. Because sometimes in T20 cricket, if they open up with a spinner and the pitch is going doing all weird things, then I feel that at that particular point, then you don't know how you're going to have to approach it according to the match situation. And when I speak about ability, I'm not saying about potential. It's two different words. Potential is that word that we are looking for when we're saying people have the potential to be able to do 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. I'm saying they can do a role like that if they have it within them to do it. We just need to see them be given that opportunity to do so. But that my point is that it comes across as desperate by the selectors and by Boucher. It's desperation to win games, makes them do certain things, and then they're not thinking with regards to, oh, this is the players that I have. They can play in this particular positions in these situations for South Africa. Let's select a team around that. Because we don't have a proper number 6. Are you telling me now we're still searching for one? The World Cup is now. We have to look what happens in the T20s and who they pick as their number 6 batsman. Because suddenly it's going to be David Miller, I'm saying, thinking that. By the looks of it, he's most likely going to be forced down. If Faf comes back, he's definitely going to be the 6th there. There's no other way I can see it. So, this doesn't make sense to me that they are doing things like this. For me personally, you need to pick the best players that are currently best in form. The ODIs, that's why for me the ODI series wasn't about. It was about winning. Yes, it was for me, but the T20s was the most important series for me. This next series is going to be so important. Like so important for us.
You know, at some stage, I feel like the South African teams like ODI, T20, Test need to find that balance between an individual game plan and how that fits into the collective game plan. You know, which is of winning the game. And at the moment, it's that to me is what is a massive blow. You know, because Boucher said that one of his regrets was that the team didn't finish off that chase in the first ODI, and that is emblematic of the problem that South Africa is currently facing, particularly when they're chasing. You know, because they seem to have sort of figured out how to set a target as they did in the second game, but if they have a problem with chasing, it's down to the fact that individuals don't seem to have a plan, or that they don't seem to take the responsibility to see the team through to the end, or there's some degree of confusion between what the individual role is and how it fits into the collective plan.
Yeah. So that's my thing. Like I wouldn't want to see Aiden at 6 personally, because I want Aiden's an opening batsman.
I
For
don't want
me.
him in the team at all.
So at the
I don't think he
moment,
should be there.
based on his performances recently and consistency, you have to say then Aiden drops out because Janneman has been the most consistent all-rounder, second all-rounder in this team, other than obviously
Opener.
Quinton de Kock. So ultimately, you're going to have to hurt some people when you're picking your squads. I wouldn't want to see players get moved into positions just so that they can play. So, but what I'm saying is, by the way Boucher and them are doing things, with the way they're using Aiden in the side, they've spoken a lot about his bowling. They're speaking a lot about his ability with the ball. In press conferences, we've heard it loads. That makes it feel like they are trying to keep him as a floater in the side. And I don't want that. Aiden shouldn't be a floater. You're either in the first team or you're not. Like being a floater in the side where we bats maybe 4, maybe 3, maybe what sort of consistency do you create for a player at that particular point? Because
was the problem.
ultimately, I thought that when Dwayne wasn't in the side, all we could speak about was Dwayne. Everybody in the press conference was asking about, oh, Dwayne's missing, so you don't have your number 6. That's everybody's mindset going into this. Why the heck are you not picking your best number 6, 7 batsman to play in that position? It's mind-boggling, and I know it's 2 different formats. That T20s are different to ODIs, but Dwayne missed a hell of a lot of cricket. The ODIs would have given him the correct preparation mentally to be able to face the T20s with no stress. He could have failed in the ODIs or pushed through the ODIs or succeeded in the ODIs or pushed through this and rather given him the opportunity to, because Carlson doesn't see the T20 side when everybody's fit. So why persist with a guy that you so heavily and make him captain and give him all that responsibility? For example, I'm just giving an example. If everybody's fit, he doesn't even make the side. Like backup keeper, then he'll be there, but then why keep Carl around? Now, I understand that COVID also situation also messes things up because you need extra players in the squad and all of those type of things. But when it comes to giving the right guys the right opportunities at the right time is what we need to do. And I think that's where we've lacked so much intuition and insight and bravery when it comes to selections. I think we lack bravery in selections. Ravi, is there anything?
I would have been fine had they picked Rickleton or a Hamza to go and tour with the side, and we lost. I'd be like, okay, that's fine, because those are the guys who are coming up.
That's another way to look at it.
The big issue that with Aiden was that when Temba got injured, Aiden was already in the bubble against Pakistan for that ODI series. So they just shifted him into the T20s, and he scored runs. And now they're trying to figure out ways to fit him in, instead of saying, look, dude, you weren't in the picture. We brought you in because of the situation of injuries. We'll keep you around, but we need to look at you. The only problem was that at the time, nobody was scoring runs below there. That's why Aiden kept on floating up and down in T20s. I would like to know from management as to, I get Aiden's on form in T20s. I get his on form in tests. What they think of his situation in ODIs. Yes, that 95 was great and it was okay, and we'll give him that. Does that warrant him another series? He's played already about 35 games in the side, ODI games in the side, and he's given us just around 30 as an average. What happens with him come India, come Bangladesh, come Netherlands? Does he still stay as a backup, or do we try to look at the guys who are below him on the run scoring charts in domestic cricket? Because that's the thing. We don't know whether Ryan Rickleton will hit it off. We don't know whether Zubair Hamza would hit it off. We don't know whether Grant Willison would hit it off. And those are 1, 2, and 3 in the last Momentum One Day Cup. But we'll never know unless we try them. But we keep on selecting the same old guys. I thought Reza Hendricks was done after the 2019 World Cup. He's back again. And I'm surprised. I was really surprised. And so that's where my issue is with the selectors is I don't understand how they are selecting these teams when there are guys in the outskirts who would be a team like this deserves new blood. If you're not going to be picking your IPL guys or your strong guys, a team like this is in, but a guy who has the ability and the potential, but after 35 games gives you an average of 30. I think he's just crossed over 1,000 runs in ODI cricket. Is that a guy that you want to be as your backup instead of looking for somebody else? Because I know Yanaman's running with it, and I'm happy that he is, and he's shutting the door on Aiden. But what are we looking at? What's the plan with everyone else around the squad? And that's my biggest worry about this team going into the next ODIs.
Dylan Jansen, thanks a lot for the super chat, brother. Because of that, I'll read out your comment. I had to go find it now, of course, because you didn't write it in the actual super chat. But in my opinion, Shamshi looks the best batsman today, is what you had to say. So thanks a lot for the super chat. And to other guys, if you guys want your super chats to be read out, you need to obviously contribute with a super chat, and then we'll read out your comment on the show. Yeah, you see, the Super League favors players or teams that have already a set team. I feel that know who their 11 is, that are settled, that can go and take on, because every single game is almost like a knockout, not a knockout game, but an important game. I know ODI series is always important, but it doesn't give us as South Africans who are struggling to find an 11 for the 2023 World Cup, which is so far away, to groom and build a squad and team that gets experience by playing out in the middle. It doesn't give us that opportunity necessarily fully, but it is possible if they do it smartly, because there's a big enough core within this ODI setup to be able to groom a young team. Because my argument with young players has always been maintained, and it will always remain the same. Who gets more out of an experience when it comes to age? A young Reinhard, I'm just giving a random name now. I'm not saying that he should be necessarily in the ODI side, but I'm saying a young Reinhard van Tonder, for example, at the age of 21, or a 33-year-old, let me give it, or 30-odd-year-old Riza, maybe not Riza Hendricks, or 30-year-old Heinrich Klaassen. They both score 30 in a match. Who gets more experience out of that? Obviously, Reinhard is going to get more experience out of that particular experience than someone that is going on towards the end of his career. So why can't we build a balanced side with that core group of youngsters that we do already have? Because Quinton can go for quite some time. Kagiso, world class. We've got, yes, in ODI cricket and in white ball cricket, he hasn't been at his peak necessarily. He struggled a bit in international cricket with that. But we've got a nice spine in that side of world-class players that we can build a young team around and fill up those positions. Janaman Malan is one of them. They've given him opportunity, and I think he settled that discussion. Now you have your number 3 with your captain, now that they've selected him. Okay, there's your experience. You've got Quinton, you've got Temba, you've got Shamsi, you've got, if you want to put Keshaf in the side as well, then Keshaf, then you've got you've got Rassi. That's your experience. Now build your youngsters around that. Go find you a young number 6 batsman that can smash the ball out the park. Go find yourself a experimental type of batsman that can bat at number 4 in ODI cricket. We've got loads in South African cricket that have that sort of ilk that can maybe bat there. We just need to be able to scout. My concern, that was my major concern when Graham Smith took over as director of cricket. How much knowledge does he actually have of the domestic system and about the players that are available? How much does Boucher actually know about players outside of his realm? I really have guys in that setup that I feel you almost need someone in that setup that understands the youth system and what is in domestic cricket. Picking an assistant coach with that mentality is very important. A guy that understands and knows what the domestic system has available. Who are the guys that are in pressure situations that perform in particularized performance situations? Because that has nothing to do, I feel, with that type of performance has nothing to do with the level of cricket. Because the type of pressure you feel it's the same type of pressure you feel at any level. If in those crunch situations, do you have a guy that in crunch situations fails or in crunch situation excels? Those are the type of mentalities and the guys with those type of mentalities that we have to pick. I have to just get to the super chat quickly, guys, before we end of the stream as well. Thank you a lot, Werner, for the super chat. I think Biadin was not really appreciated because he was surrounded by AB and Rousseau, but the type of role he played would have been useful now. And Biadin is a type of guy that I'm talking about where he did have that no-care attitude. I'm going to go out there no matter the situation and I'm going to give it my best shot, and really have a go. And there are certain youngsters that are in the system that have that mentality naturally. It's natural born winners. No matter what level you play at, you want to win, and you need to get over the line. It's something that we need to get into this team. Tristan Stubbs is someone that I saw that in. I don't know if he's going to get an opportunity to show that he can do that on the bigger stage. But Reina van Tonder has that mentality. I've seen it over and over again in crunch situations, back against the wall. He performs. Calvin is one of those people. I've seen it on many occasions, mentality-wise, but he's never given the opportunity at the international level to actually play that role. Today would have been the perfect game for him. Everything's collapsing around him. 3 down, 4 down, with almost nothing on the board. Everybody expects him to fail. I think Carl would have been the perfect person for this particular situation. And we need to start picking guys that are versatile, that can not only play if the situation suits them. We need guys that are versatile, that can play no matter what the situation that they are presented with.
I just want to add something, Khalid, if at all possible. I know we're almost running out of time, but you made a comment about the 50 over World Cup isn't really a priority, and obviously T20, because the World Cup is just around the corner, that takes precedence. But in fairness, we are at the end of 2021, and there's only one more year to go until showtime on the grandest stage of them all. The thing is, we need to make ruthless decisions. I'm starting to sound like Vince McMahon here, but ruthless aggression. If there are guys that you're not 100% sure of, like for example, Visa Hendricks here, he scored a 50, but who would you rather take with you? Would you take Aiden Markram, who's scored a 90 odd in this series, or would you take Visa Hendricks, who scored 50? After a lengthy absence, and more than likely you're going to go the route of Aiden Markram. But I think what was a great point that was referenced tonight is that you've got other fantastic young prospects in the form of Hamza, in the form of Arena, in the form of Antonio, and the list goes on. I mentioned Rickleton earlier tonight. These guys are hungry. They're looking for an opportunity. In fairness to Kyle Verreynne, he had a showing in the West Indies during their tour, and I think I've met him before. I think he'll probably be the first to admit it didn't go to plan, and he probably wanted to do something more with that opportunity. And this was a perfect chance to showcase these youngsters and to give them a shot. I think what's happened is that we got our priorities mixed up a bit here. If we really wanted to go for the win, we should have said, look, guys, we need to get our veterans back in here. We don't have points on the board on the Super League system. Let's bring in the cock. Let's bring in guys that have done it for us before, just so that we can get points on the board. But if it's not a priority, then fine. If the executive decision was we're not going to prioritize the veterans, let's give the youngsters a chance. Let's give them all a chance. I mean, if this was going to be the result anyway, I see this as a missed opportunity. I would have rather have seen Kyle Verreynne, guys like Zubey Hamza, fine, they're not in the squad. Or maybe Betty at Lazard Williams and Bjorn Hendrick. Let them have a proper go. If this is going to be the end result anyway, with a semi-experienced team, then my question to the selectors is, what was the point of this exercise? Really, it really doesn't make sense to me. That Lazard Williams, as an example, from one tour to the next, the man is carrying drinks, and they've only seen him play once or twice at most. For me, that speaks volume. We're making the same mistake that we did, and I hate to bring this up. The semi-final against New Zealand 2015, the Vernon Philander issue. I'm going to bring it up now. The man wasn't 100% ready to play on the day. Yet they still said, let's prioritize it first. Let's give him a go. Same thing with Kagiso today. If he's not 100%, if it's a known variable that he's not going to perform to the best of his ability, why not would you jeopardize future games playing Kagiso Rabada if he's not 100%? You could have given a spot to any one of those teams on the roster.
That's weird, man.
I don't think Kagiso is terrible, but I'm saying to conserve him for the upcoming fixtures.
There's a lot of weird things. There's a lot of weird things, man, like that I see. Like, for example, you don't pick your best ODI team, but you say, but we need to win the games. Then I'm like, but then they pick a team that's going to win the games.
I want to know.
It's weird.
I want to give John Diona a shout out. He compared Boucher to Arteta. I'm going to call
guys, I saw that comment. Leave my club out of it.
Oh, it's a massive. There's a massive game.
Let me tell you about Mikel Arteta.
Massive game happening this weekend. Massive game.
It is. It's fine. But we're losing games with under 25-year-olds. This Arsenal side is playing kids You guys are asking for kids, yet you're getting veterans from Mark Boucher. Arteta's losing games with children. And so that's something that maybe South Africa needs to figure out. And to your point, Khalid, about the Super League, right? It's about planning. You plan.
Yeah.
You take out the
Don't
calendar.
plan. They should have
You take
planned
out the Super
when he
League
got
fixtures.
appointed. The plan
You
should
take
have
out-
been Boucher is appointed as coach. Okay, there's your experience of international cricket. The guy has the mindset of that. Pick an assistant coach. I thought Enoch was a good appointment at a particular time because he added the balance and the tactical side of the game and all that stuff. But you pick your side now. Okay, 2023 World Cup. We need to win this amount of Super League games. We're going to pick a team that is capable of doing that, who's going to last us over the next 3-4 years, that's going to build themselves into a team that's going to be a winning team. Then we've got like the German side does. For many years, Germany has done that with
the problem was, if you look at the 2023 World Cup, I can tell you the 11 that's going to start, or the 5 batsmen that are going to start. It's not going to move. The only question that still will be hanging around is that second opener. But it's Quinton, it's Temba, it's Rassie, it's David Miller, and whoever your number 6 is, God knows who. That's the other option.
Nobody knows.
Yes, but we know that. And so my question is, what were we trying to learn from this series?
Do we know that for T20 cricket? Do we know our 6
No,
is
I'm
for
not talking about
cricket?
the T20 World Cup. I'm talking about the 2023 World Cup. In 2023, you're asking for youngsters. 2023, we're going to be playing guys who are 34 and 35 years old. We're not going to be playing guys who are 26, 27, or guys who are 23. So it's not about experimenting. He came here to win games, and he needed to win games because his record is horrible as a coach right now. He's lost series after series after series, and he's using excuses like, well, you saw today the pitch was just not that great. The spin bowlers were just amazing, and it's just disappointing because 2 days before, these guys actually scored a ton load of runs. Now today, I don't know what's going on. And that tells me you don't know your players as a coach. You're selecting the wrong people, and you're finding yourself in a hole. And if you're looking for backups to the guys going to the World Cup in 2023, I wouldn't pick from the squad. The only person I'd take from the squad is Yanaman, Rassie, and obviously Temba's the captain, and probably even Keshav for the guys who are in and around the setup. Outside of that, everyone else, obviously KG writes himself into the side. Maybe Anna gets himself into the side. Outside of that, I think you need to go find other players. It's as simple as that. Because you're not playing Dwayne, so that's fine. Go look for a number 6. Like going to the World Cup, Aiden's not opening for me at the World Cup. I'm giving Yanaman a run for the next year until the end of the Super League.
Yeah.
Even if we go to qualify, I'm picking Yanaman.
No, Yanaman is 300s already under his name in different conditions. There's no choice other but Yanaman.
Yeah, so for me, he's the only positive out of the side, and Kesha as a second spinner. And I would even go into ODIs at home with 2 spinners. So, like, outside of that, like, we learned nothing. And all I know is, guys, I don't want to see in the ODI side going to 2023 and guys who need to fight their way back. If it means Aiden needs to go score another 800 runs in domestic cricket, he might as well go do that, and then we'll figure it out. But we need to tell him what we need from him so that when he comes into the ODI squad and he doesn't do it, he can go back and he can never be selected again. It's like guys like Tennis de Brain. Tennis de Brain came into the side. He averaged 50 coming into the side. He didn't do well. He got kicked out. He goes to the domestic scene, still scores runs, but he doesn't make it into the side. But with Aiden, we still bring him in into his ODI side. If Aiden's just testing T20, that's okay. And we should be fine with that. But for me, give other people a chance. If you don't want to, plan better.
Aticha, take us home.
I think everything that needs to be said has been said. And, generally, I think after today's performance, I hope that the team can sort of mentally recover from it and at least win the T20 series, because the players desperately need that confidence. But in saying that, I think one eye is going to be on what happens on Thursday, because players are going to want to make sure that they put in some good performances through the series, but they will want to know what their positions are in the team come Thursday. And I suppose that's the case for fans as well. We want to know, is Faf coming back? In what role? Is Temba coming back? Will Temba be fit? in
The
time for the
timing of
World
this,
Cup.
guys. The timing of
Yes.
this, man. We playing T20
So-
series and Thursday is the World Cup announcement. Oh my
But
god.
I told you guys But I told you guys the 15 who are being selected on Thursday are already in Sri Lanka. There's nobody who's not in Sri Lanka who's not going to the World Cup.
Yeah.
Hi, bro.
Like-
So Bjorn is out there. Is he there?
And yeah, he is. But there's 18
Okay.
players. The only issue
Yeah.
I have is this whole we're announcing the start of the domestic season. Oh, and we're bringing in the World Cup squad. That tells me there's bad news somewhere. Someone's
Sorry,
gonna be
Aditya. I
disappointed.
know I interrupted you there. Sorry, my thing is delayed also.
No.
So, like, I'm listening to you, and then I think you finish, and then I start speaking, and then my voice comes out, and then I'm like, oh, flip. I'm seeing you speak, and then I'm a bit delayed on the side, so I'm sorry about that.
No worries. But yeah, I guess that's the challenge for the Proteas going forward. I think ultimately, you can only focus on the next game and what you can do better. And I do hope that they're able to sort of get the memory of today's game out of the system as quickly as possible, because they desperately need that series victory before the World Cup. Not to mention that some of the players will be going to the IPL, so they're going to treasure that experience. But there'll be a number of players there who won't be going to the IPL, and therefore this makes the series even more valuable in terms of playing in similar conditions. So I think now it's just a mental challenge. Yeah.
And I hope that the guys that are going to be in the T20 setup have learned a lot from this experience and this defeat. Thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to smash the like button, click subscribe, do all of those things, share this with your friends and family. I think it was a very diverse panel today that gave all different types of opinions, and you can get a little bit of everything, and it will inform you and educate you and entertain you as well, some of the stuff that we've said. We are not analysts of the game, we're just fans giving our opinions. So that's all it is that this channel is about. I'm not going to be sitting on Super Sports panel and giving you guys step-by-step process of every single masterclass on cricket. So we just here giving you our opinions as fans and friends of the game. So we're all a family and a community. Don't forget to subscribe to the magazine as well.
Hope not, Khalid. I should hope not. I've seen your coverage live. I don't think we should see it.
So guys, thanks a lot for tuning in, and also go to download the latest issue of the magazine. Of course, monthly magazine is available for all of you guys. Everything issue is free, so just go ahead and click on that. The link is in the description. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you guys again with another episode of the Daily Show tomorrow, and shows this week as well. We'll see what we will be doing for you for the rest of the week. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you guys very, very soon. Take care.